Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. In the 1980s, the San Francisco 49ers were the greatest team in football. They were a dynasty in every sense of the word, dominating the decade and going from one of the worst teams in football, and a team with little if any historical success, to the most powerful team of the game. And in the first half of the 1990s, they were picking up right where they left off. Under head coach George Seifert, the Niners were still one of the best teams in football. 2 Super Bowl wins under his reign, 6 division titles, 5 appearances in the NFC Championship. And you could make a legitimate argument that in his first season as head coach in 1989, Seifert commanded the greatest team of all time, as the Niners went 14-2 that year and outscored their opponents by 100 points during the postseason. But Seifert's reign with the 49ers almost never happened. In 1989, George Seifert was moments away from being named the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The continuation of the Niners dynasty, at least under Seifert, almost never happened. And what do the 49ers have to thank for that? A storm. This is the story of how a storm helped the 49ers continue their dynasty. First, we need some context as to why the Niners were looking for a new head coach anyways. For a very, very long time, the main man in charge, Bill Walsh, was contemplating retirement. You can even go as far back as 1982 to think of Walsh wanting to step away from his position. In fact, after that 1982 season, Walsh even went as far as interviewing people for his job, including guys like John Robinson and Dick Vermeil. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Obviously, Walsh stayed on and helped guide the 49ers to greatness during the remainder of the 1980s. But by 1988, it was no secret that Walsh was thinking about walking away. In fact, most of the talk leading up to Super Bowl XXIII was about Walsh stepping away from his post and calling it a career. Of course, if he was going to go out, it would be with a bang, as Super Bowl XXIII was one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. San Francisco won the game 20-16, capturing their 3rd Super Bowl in franchise history, thanks to a Joe Montana touchdown drive down the field, widely regarded as one of the greatest drives in the history of the sport. Part of the reason why the 49ers were so dominant during this time period was because of defensive coordinator George Seifert. He had been with Bill Walsh for quite some time. When Walsh became the head coach of the Stanford Cardinal in 1977, Seifert was the team's defensive backs coach. In 1980, Seifert took that same position on Walsh's staff with the San Francisco 49ers, and by 1983, he had been promoted to defensive coordinator. During his 6 seasons at that position, the Niners had one of the top 8 defenses in football from a points allowed standpoint every single season. When the 49ers won the Super Bowl in 1984, San Francisco had the number 1 defense in football, and they completely shut down Dan Marino's record-breaking offense. And in 1987, the Niners had the best defense in football from a yardage standpoint. By 1989, Seifert was one of the hottest names on the market. To be honest, it's kind of surprising that he was a defensive coordinator for so long before finally getting his recognition as a possible head coach. And there was one team that had a very attractive vacancy that needed to be filled. Enter the Cleveland Browns. During the mid-1980s, the Cleveland Browns were one of the best teams in football. This was a team that had made it to the postseason in 4 consecutive years, and had made it to the AFC Championship twice in a row in 1986 and 1987. During that 1986 season, the Browns even made a Super Bowl shuffle of their own, creating an entire movie that has to be seen to be believed. You can check that out in the upper right corner. But head coach Marty Schottenheimer and owner Art Modell did not get along well. To keep it short, tensions rose right after the 1988 season ended. The Browns were eliminated in the wildcard round by the Houston Oilers and had a sputtering offense, as their offense ranked 20th in the league out of 28 teams. Modell wanted Schottenheimer to hire an offensive coordinator, and Schottenheimer didn't want to do that. Because of this, Schottenheimer resigned. This meant that there was a pretty attractive vacancy that was open. A team that had made the postseason regularly and was one of the better teams in football was now looking for a new head coach. Modell had 4 guys in mind, all of whom were defensive guys. As Modell said, "We need someone to keep up with offenses. I think our defense needs a fresh look. The 98-yard march by the Elways of the world, I want to be a thing of the past." And with that, Modell was looking at Jets defensive coordinator Bud Carson, Rams defensive coordinator Fritz Shurmur, Bears defensive coordinator Vince Tobin, and 49ers defensive coordinator George Seifert. Modell loved Seifert so much that he flew him out for an interview. The interview was scheduled for January 25th, just 3 days after the 49ers beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. Seifert was considered to be one of the favorites for the job, and with that, Seifert was on his way from San Francisco to Cleveland, with a stop in Denver along the way. There was just one problem. There were storms in the area, which meant that the plane could not land there. Because of this, the plane rerouted to Dallas. Seifert's wife knew about the pit stop in Denver, but didn't know that there were storms there, and didn't know that the plane was in Dallas. Because of this, Seifert decided to call his wife and let him know about the change in plans, and just let his wife know that because of some storms, he was now in Texas instead of Colorado, though it would be in Cleveland where he was supposed to be the next time he stepped on the plane. And Seifert's wife told him not to step on that plane. Because while Seifert was flying to Dallas, Bill Walsh resigned, and the 49ers job was now open, and the Niners wanted Seifert to take it. As great as the Cleveland job was, the San Francisco job was obviously the perfect fit. The team was the best in football. He had all of his players and systems in place already. He knew the guys on the staff, he got along with the higher-ups, and he wouldn't have to move or get acclimated with another city. When Seifert's wife told him that the Niners wanted him to take the first plane back, Seifert agreed. And the very next day, Seifert was announced as the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. As he said, "No way I could pass up that opportunity." Art Modell wasn't angry or upset at Seifert for canceling the interview, saying, "I don't blame him. If I were George Seifert, I'd stay there." But it's crazy how the weather wound up changing NFL history. If there were no storms in Denver, Seifert wouldn't have called his wife, since there wouldn't be any change in plans. Seifert would have landed in Cleveland, and probably would have interviewed and maybe even been offered the job before he ever got the news from his wife about the 49ers. The Browns got Bud Carson, who lasted less than 2 seasons, and everything worked out well for Seifert, who won 2 titles with San Francisco. There are many reasons why the 49ers were able to continue their incredible run of form in the 1990s under George Seifert, including great quarterback play, great defensive play, and Jerry Rice being the greatest receiver to ever do it. But as great as all the on-the-field stuff was, it was something off the field that made the difference. Because if January 25th, 1989 was a sunny day in Denver, then everything could have been different. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JarroGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters who help get the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.